try that. You try shooting him. You back off. You shoot him.
Time to take your medicine. Nothing can stop me.
Full reroute. Offensive.
The time itself.
Maybe Minuteman wasn't such a good idea.
Hot stuff coming through.
None can stand against me.
Hot enough for you?
Actually, you're really
I'm right here.
Unit ready.
I'm right here.
Let's start
Battle sequence.
Mate.
Full reroute. Offensive.
Oh, yeah, that's not working.
Diablo listo. Ride that guy
Full
coming up.
reroute.
None can stand against me. I can fight him.
System online. Offensive.
I don't think I've got any good attacks against him is the problem.
Full
Soup song.
reroute. Offensive.
Ride that guy coming up. Ride that guy coming
You're a
up.
bit rubbish. Minuteman in this fight. Really good up to this point. This is the point where he stopped working. Oh, come on, why aren't you attacking?
Soup song.
Battle sequence.
Soup song.
Targeting. Offensive retaliation.
Let's start cooking.
Unit ready. Battle sequence.
Ride that guy coming up.
Offensive retaliation. Full
Soup
reroute.
song.
Offensive.
I think we're about to do it. One more shot. Yes!
No! What have you done?
I beat you! At last! No! That seemed bad.
You've done it! He no longer controls the timelines. I do. I have become universally aware.
Hooray!
Well done, friend. Now we just have to get out of here.
Does anyone else think this place is looking a little dangerous?
Sensors indicate dimensional instability. Prompt egress required.
The power is immense. I can only hold on for so long. I can open a portal back to our time, but you must hurry. Go! Go now!
We're through! Quickly, Manbot, you must follow us!
Phew, it's good to be back. But what about Manbot?
Dimensional coordinates identified. Home.
Ah,
I cannot travel through the portal.
no!
Manbot, there must be another way!
What? Are you loco?
There is no other way. I must remain here to hold open the time portal. Hence, I cannot go through myself.
No!
Farewell, my comrades. Farewell, my friends. There will be future challenges. Meet them as you have met this one, as heroes. They are gone.
Knowing there is no one within 1,000,000 years that he may harm, he at last can remove a piece of his metallic prison.
What is this strange feeling? Why is my heart so light? I have no right to any satisfaction. My brother's blood still stains my hands. No armor can conceal that. But wait, what is it he once said to me?
You think I'm some kind of heroic fool, throwing away my life to help others? You live for pleasure, but deny yourself of the grandest feeling of all, for you have never understood the pleasure of kindness.
I never knew what he meant, but I think I do now. For I have saved others, and in doing so, I have saved myself.
Hey! Credits. Credits! Wow, there we go. So there we go, Freedom Force. So this is a game I really enjoyed when I played it many years ago. And there were a few points in this where I found it really frustrating, and I think if I weren't recording, I might have just kind of gone away for a little bit and then come back to it, which you can't really do when you're Let's Playing. Or at least, you can only really do it when you've got a decent split, which is kind of frustrating. So I think for me that was kind of the frustrating thing with this. There were a lot of really good bits to this. I think the little bits of voice acting that's being shown now kind of seem to fit the character and fit the kind of what they're doing with it. So for this, it is that kind of 60s comic book feel that they went for, and they got it in a lot of different ways, which I think is really good. They kind of did hit that. There were a few points where I think the mechanisms weren't as probably tight as they could have been, which normally isn't my kind of comment, but when they do get on my nerves, they really get on my nerves. So there were a few points where I don't think the game worked the way it necessarily should have done. So I think if you're hypnotized and you're hit, that should cause you to not side with that person anymore. You can only have one status affecting it, which I didn't know. We found that out at the end. So you can have one effect, and then you get another effect, it replaces it. So if you're stunned and then hypnotized, you're no longer stunned, you are hypnotized, which I'm not sure I like. There were a few other points where it's like stasis didn't work the way I would have expected for stasis. You can't do damage, but you can take damage. That's, to me, isn't stasis. Stasis means you're not affected or affecting anything. Story-wise, I really like this. It kind of builds up, and you find out actually quite a few of the enemies are people that Time Master has basically set on you to try and find out. He says it to find out who is the biggest threat to him, the person with the most energy X, the one who's most useful to him, which ends up being Manbot, because he is basically a walking energy X battery. So that ends up kind of happening along those lines. I'm kind of intrigued as to what happens when I press OK. Because I'm fairly sure that's the end, especially with the fact we got the credits. I like all the pretty much all the characters. We didn't get to see much from Bullet, but that's because we only got him very late on. And I'd prefer it if you didn't have the prestige at all, and you just got these characters that are relevant and they have character arcs. Because people you add, like Man of War and Sea Urchin and Bullet, you only really get character bits from them if you take them on missions and you see them interact with people. And I think that's kind of my frustration there with some of the characters. I did quite like Man of War, but that's because he's just Sean Connery. I think the thing is, I'm not too bothered by Minuteman being rah-rah America, like I am in some other games with other characters, because this game is cheesy. It embraces the cheese of that 60s comic book era. So it's not as frustrating for me as other games which are rah-rah America, hooray America, America's great, isn't it great? Yeah. I mean, Mentor's a bit kind of flat, but he is kind of the mentor character. He's not meant to be the main focus of a lot of it. Minuteman is, kind of to an extent, and Manbot. I think Alchemist to an extent. Right, let's progress. Let's see what happens. Does it just take me to the main screen? It just takes me to the main screen. Not entirely sure why it shows you all the prestige you got, considering you can't do anything with it. I had 10,000 there, and I think we had a little bit left over before, so maybe we could have recruited the 2 remaining characters at the end of the last thing. But yeah, Man of War, it's very interesting that Man of War, like, you've got these 4, and Man of War's one of kind of up there, but he's not really a major player in the whole thing, whereas Minuteman, he's your first hero, he's kind of the main, I would argue if there is a main character to this game, maybe it's him, hence why I took him on that last mission. Manbot's very important, but you get him, I think, towards the end of Nuclear Winter's run, and then you get Alchemist a little after that, I think. So, I know El Diablo is quite good, but I don't think he's on the kind of same level. I probably, if I'd thought about this, I would have written out a list of all the characters and kind of where I see them as important characters for the plot. I think Minuteman's up there, Manbot's up there, Alchemist, I would argue, is to an extent up there. Mentor is at the beginning, and then fades off. I like that they do kind of force you to take certain characters as the game kind of goes on. I kind of like that because no, brain's gone. So I kind of like that they force you because it makes you use different characters. It's one of the frustrations I have with kind of some of the Mass Effect and Dragon Age games is I'm kind of getting the feeling in Mass Effect Andromeda there is no reason to take certain characters to certain missions. And I kind of had this with Inquisition as well, is apart from the loyalty missions, there was no reason to have one person on your team over another. So I do like the fact that in this, there are some missions where it's, you can't use this character because of a plot point, but you must, or conversely, you must use a different character because of plot point. And I think that's kind of a strong point of this game, is you do end up interacting with basically every character. The exceptions being the 3 bonus characters, that was Blackbird, Ironox, and Super Collider, who were added as kind of extra bonus. It was an extra bonus disc, I think, which I think I have in my, I think my physical copy had, and is obviously on this one because we use Blackbird. And I think it's that kind of, there's no real, they don't have much of a character, but the 3 characters you can recruit who pop up, so Man of War, Sea Urchin, and actually wasn't there another one? Maybe there was another one. Bullet. What Law and Order actually were as well. That they're not as well developed, I would say. And I've complained a bit about the way Law & Order levels, I don't think it makes sense for their character and the way it's meant to work. But the other characters, there are missions you're forced to take some on, there are missions you cannot take some on, and it gives them a little bit of personality, and you get to see more and more about them. And that's something I like and appreciate about this game, is you are forced almost to get to know basically everyone on your team because you interact with them on missions. You get to know their character, you get to understand them to an extent. And I think that's something you need for a strong narrative, and it's kind of a frustration with, again, Dragon Age, particularly Inquisition, I would say, and Mass Effect, particularly Andromeda, where there doesn't seem to be much reason for you to pick certain characters. I think that's actually true with the rest of the Mass Effect, well, all of those kind of games, is there's no real reason, unless you're doing like the companion or loyalty missions, there's no real reason inherently to the other missions as to why you should pick one person over another. Yes, this game is linear, so it is kind of different in that, but the benefit of linearity is it gets to be a much tighter story in working out kind of where it's going and how it's paced, because the game controls the pace. It knows when you're going to reach certain points, roughly what level of experience or prestige you're going to have. Whereas kind of an open world game, which is kind of something I've kind of been getting frustrated with, doesn't have that, because you can't assume players are going to be at a certain level when they come to a certain area. Whereas in this level, the game knows you're going to be at this point, you're going to be at this point, and I think that kind of works, certainly for this. I don't think this would be able to work as well as an open world kind of game, because it can't, and because you lose that narrative structure to an extent, which you have here. And I think I'm just complaining about other games now. But yeah, I think it's really good. I think some of the mechanisms did start to bother me. And I think, yeah, I got a little frustrated with parts of it. But I think that the story's really good, and I'm glad to have played it. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I hope you've enjoyed me getting frustrated. If you haven't, how on earth did you get this far? But there we go. Freedom Force. With Minuteman, Alchemist, Manbot, Mentor, El Diablo, The Ant. Who else was on our team? Law and Order, Man o' War, Sea Urchin, Blackbird, Bullet, and probably some other people that I can't remember, and I've already forgotten. But yeah, so the other thing I could show is you can actually create characters. So I could, there's him in his basic costume. You could recruit Lord Dominion. Now, if I picked him as a character, he gets all of his bonuses, all of these abilities. You could add a new power, but those are the powers he comes with. You can change him to different abilities, and that gives him his prestige. So his prestige is 17,000. So we're going to cancel that and not add that. But you can do that with other villains as well and have their abilities on your team. For example, you could do it with Nuclear Winter, and that would give you access to a cold power other than Blackbird. I don't know if there were any other cold powers, actually, so that's probably why they added the bonuses. So there we go. There's multiplayer. I'm not sure how that works. Never done it. Not sure if you can do it now, because I think the service will probably be down, as this is a game from 2002. Or maybe they've got a different way of doing it. I don't know. But there we go. The end of Freedom Force. I don't know what's going to come next. I suppose we'll find out together. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.